Hello, everyone. Welcome again to another episode of Astropreneur. My name is Liam, in case you haven't met me before. So today's live chat is with Gil Araújo. No, I'm going to get his name wrong, and I'm very sorry, Gil. I know you're sitting in the background, and you need to pronounce it properly for me because I'm really bad at this. And Gil actually works for Ortur Support, based in Portugal. So right now it's 1 a.m. his time in the morning. So thank you for getting up so early. But before we bring Gil into conversation. I want to talk a little bit about if you like the content of this page, please consider subscribing to the page. You can actually do so in YouTube or Facebook or wherever you're in. So like, subscribe, hit that bell, and give thumbs up as well, whatever social media you're watching this on, because all of those thumbs up actually promote the channel and they promote the content within YouTube and Facebook. So those thumbs up are really important. So without any further ado, I'd like to bring Gil into the conversation. So, hey, Gil, how are you?
Hello.
I'm
doing very well.
Because it's really early for you in the morning.
Yeah.
1 a.m.
1 a.m. for me. Yeah.
You're a trooper. Thank you for staying up so late.
No problem at all. Basically, this is my second part of the time for work anyway, so not a problem. And hello, everyone watching. Thank you for letting me be part of your stream. I'm very glad to be here.
So, guys, before we get started talking with Gil, if you have any questions, please post your questions in chat. We will ask them as we go through the interview, or maybe later on, depending on what the content is. But we will get to them. And Gil may not have all of the answers, but he'll do his best to answer whatever he can out there. Remember, he is in support, but we're going to have some fun stories, some interesting stories about what's out there, what it's like working for Ortur, and an interesting story about how he managed to become an Ortur employee, who's a Chinese company, and he's based in Portugal. Yeah. So we'll get to that in a moment. So, Gil, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, me, I'm a musician. You didn't know that?
No, I didn't know you're a musician.
I grown up learning to play clarinet, a classical instrument. That didn't go well, not because I wasn't any good, but because I'm not very patient. And then a million different passions starting to grow, all linked to technologies, and basically music took backstage. I'm a web developer. I tinker with machines like this basically all my life. And yeah, I'm a musician that became customer support online somehow. And in between, I done some market trading. I done quite a few things that are interesting, but they were interesting for a while, and life goes on, basically. Yeah.
Okay, so I don't play any musical instruments. The closest I get to playing music is playing the radio. This is about as musical as I am. But so tell us, like you said, you came up from classical music.
Yeah. And well, basically the links are there. I started playing music. I'm in classic orchestras and all that. Then when I went to university, I became very interested in audio studios and audio engineering, which is more technical. And I loved everything about it except the part of the music of it. Basically, what I mean is I was much more interested on the technology itself than the end result. And that led me to basically steer in the way of development of products and software and computers. And basically, I went more geek in this sense.
Being a geek is cool, right?
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah, and basically, I always had this curiosity to understand how things work or try to make them work. And I must have every do-it-yourself kit out there, Arduinos and all that kind of stuff. So basically, the trajectory went from music to technology, more technology, and basically anything I needed, I learned. Coding and web design, and basically I do many things wrong, but I do many things.
So in college you studied which did you went away from music when you went to college? You went towards, so you studied electronics, or was it?
No, I studied audio engineering. Basically, I
Okay.
was going to be the guy behind the studio and the mixing board, recording all that, right?
Yeah.
So that didn't pan out well, mostly because the market in Portugal wasn't there. And other interesting things happened at that time. The stock market was something that grew on me, and I'd done that for a few years. And then basically stock market is very stressful, is horrible. So I start to diverge from that and going back to my passion, which is technology. And like I said, I tinker with mostly anything I can, from coding, from web design, from these machines that 3D printers and basic Arduinos. If I can make something complicated with an Arduino, I will, even if it's the most basic project that you could do by hand, I will try to do it. So yeah, in my house, everything is overcomplicated.
Like my home.
yeah, everything is too complex, and it shouldn't, but you learn a lot doing that. I think
that's part of the fun of tech, right?
So
you were in, so before joining Ortur, what you were in?
I still am. Basically a few years back, I moved back to, I used to live in a city, and I said enough of this. So I moved back to the countryside, and I help my parents' business doing the web design and sales and e-commerce part. And that's freed a bit of time, and I was able to tinker a bit more. So how I got in touch with Ortur was a funny story. I don't know if you want to go through it now.
Tell us about how you came across with Ortur, and what led you to become an employee.
Right. So my first contact with Ortur was buying locally a 3D machine. It was a white label. I have never, it was not labeled, it had no brand. And it was a 3D printer Delta style with a laser module, right?
Okay.
And it had no documentation, no name, no nothing. Somehow I figured out the maker, and I reached to them in Skype. And I sent them a message asking questions, basically, because I couldn't find them anywhere. And Justin Tan from Ortur, the CEO of the company, answered me. And he sent me the documentation, and we started talking. I suggest to them that if they wanted, I could write the documentation again in better English. And he said yes. And we started basically just sharing information, sharing ideas. I would be honest with him and tell him what I didn't think was very good. And he listened. And basically, in the span of a year and a half, we exchanged some work. I would do things for them for free with no, I was not an employee or something like that, just because I could help. I helped, basically. And things progressed to the point that I was doing a lot of work with them. I don't say major work. I say I was helping them more frequently than not. And it became to the point, I think it was mutually interesting to work together. And then I joined Ortur basically in July last year. And the idea was basically that I would start working on customer support in Europe and help write manuals and basically get in touch with the customer. And it's been nonstop since. I've been doing, I hope they see it like that too, a good working in bridging the relationship between the customer and the company, because
that's kind of hard. That's always hard when you're dealing with a company based out of China. First of all, you have the language barrier, which is always an issue, and like written English is one thing when someone answers over email, but having a phone conversation with someone really makes a difference sometimes.
Yeah, Ortur does not offer phone support, basically because it would be a 24/7 situation that I cannot do.
What you need sleep for, huh? Why sleep?
Yeah, right. It's not
1
possible.
a.m. You're up here with us. What's the difference?
It's not possible. Also, it implies that you have the answer instantly, and many times you don't. That's a problem, because many times I have to reach for Ortur engineers and ask, look, there's a very peculiar problem that I didn't see before. Something, and it happens often, and they tell me, okay, test this, test that, and at times I do not have the answer to the problem immediately. So creating the false expectation that you can fix a problem online over the phone is not easy. Furthermore, you need many pictures. People at times get annoyed because I ask a lot of pictures from customers and or users, and as I explained them, I need to put my virtual eyes on their machine to understand what's going on. And if you do, it's funny because you start to develop you sense where the problem might be, but you need to be sure. And at times with a picture or 5 or 6 pictures, you can identify the problem.
Yeah.
Very easy. At times you swap 20 emails and a picture could fix it, or a small video.
Video. I find videos important, but the problem is when I find, like, I do a lot of helping people out on Facebook and so on the user groups, and when people are out there and you ask them for a video about what's happening, and the video you get is their camera doing this. And you get motion sickness watching it.
Yeah, but like I explained, people at times, especially with this type of machines, is not only seeing but listening to the problem. Yeah,
yes, that's
and
why
you can pinpoint many problems like that. It's not easy because not everyone. I don't know. We have customers from 15 to 67, I think, was the oldest person that shared their age with me. So there's a big range on the ages of the people that use our machine. So not always is simple to ask them the things, but it's the best way, I find.
And guys, please post questions. Because it is 1 a.m. in the morning for Gill. We need to ask lots of questions to keep him awake.
Yeah.
So otherwise, we'll be hearing snoring sounds on the other side to keep him awake during the conversation. So Shane has one question there saying, what you need more information. I told you I broke it. It needs...
Well, that's more information that I get at times. At times I just get is broken. I understand, and it's very frustration. This is important. I came to Ortur as a customer, right? So I'm not just someone that was hired to do customer support. Now, I understand because I've been on the other side, and I am often on the side of the person that buys something that doesn't work for whatever reason. The reason is not important most of the times, and it's very frustrating, especially if it's a new technology that you don't understand well, because for guys like us and the geeks, you can mostly rationalize the problem or divide it in little bits and diagnose one part at a time. But that's because we dealt with this same problem like 100 times before.
Like for us, if it doesn't work, we go, the first thing we reach for is the multimeter to find out where the signal is falling.
Yeah, basically, but if you work with these machines often enough, you understand the logic process of, okay, if this doesn't work, check the switch first, right? Mm-hmm. But it's obvious for us. I try to never assume that it's obvious because most of the times it's not, right? So, and I understand the frustration of being a customer with a problem. And you need to be patient and ask the customer to be patient, because to help him, you need them to give you as much information as possible. And at times, At times, customers get frustrated for me asking the most basic questions, but many times those are the answers. That's the problem, right? So,
yeah. Did you hit the power switch?
right.
Yeah. Well, I have a background in IT support. That's where I worked in IT support for a while, and you do end up asking questions like the basics. Did you hit the power switch? Is it plugged into the wall? I had one conversation where someone didn't need him saying that their computer wasn't working, and the reason why it wasn't working is they had a power outage, but it took me 20 minutes to get them to tell me it wasn't. There was a power outage. That's why it's not working. And but they thought the computer would work even with the power out. So
right, like I said, for you that information is critical.
Yeah,
and,
it is. Yeah,
but many times people don't, and it's normal. I think it's very normal. It's like if you ask me to diagnose a car, if it has no wheels, I understand why it doesn't work. But besides that, it's behind me, right? So we develop these skills because we tinker a lot and we break a lot of things and fix them kind of after, right? But most people are end users and they shouldn't need to fix something. I understand that.
Yeah.
So a lot of frustration comes from that. But as a customer support, I need to ask the customer to be patient, to help me help them, basically, right?
Yeah.
And I will try to do my best. It's not always easy. No, it's not. But
okay. I want to come back to that in a moment, a little bit more about some of the stuff that you've come across. So you transitioned doing support at home and being an end user, like most of us here are, right, to working for Ortur.
Right.
What was that transition like? What was it like to go from being the end user, figuring stuff out, to being the person who has to figure it out for everybody else? Because you cover global. You're not just Europe. You cover Asia, Europe, and the US.
At the moment, I run the ticketing system. I do Facebook support, email support. I just don't do the tickets that are sent directly to the retailers, Gearbest, AliExpress, whatever they are, right? Basically, I wish I was, because normally the retailer takes 20 emails to send them to me. So many times the customers come frustrated because of that. So we are working with the retailers to send us the customers as fast as possible, obviously. Yeah. But yes, in the beginning, this wasn't the plan. Let me explain. My initial goal in Ortur was to help them develop the Europe branch, which is in the plans. And help develop marketing in Europe and videos, educational material, manuals, etc., right? More creative stuff rather than customer support. I think I have a natural ability, if you can call it that, to help people kind of good. I'm being humble. I think I know how to do it quite well. And for the time being, it was decided that it was more important to give a better customer support on the onset than try to develop something else. So my mission became to develop a good ticketing system, which didn't exist. Monitor Facebook a lot, because our group went from 600 people to 9,000 yesterday, I think, in 6 months. So yes, it was a huge, and the group is awesome. Facebook can be complicated, but the group is very good.
Facebook has its downsides, but the people who are in those user groups are really there to help each other and help others out, because those people out there with a lot of knowledge and experience, and they share it.
There is, and what most people don't understand on user groups is that normally people go to a Facebook group before they buy the machines.
Yes.
They go while they have the machines to show off the great things they can do with the machines, which is great, and I love that part. Or they go to the Facebook groups because they have a problem. Normally, the latter is the most obvious, especially at the beginning, because there was no real customer support portal, let's call it that, right? So the most problem on Facebook, if you look at it without context, you will see a lot of problems, or better, a lot of people with a lot of problems, which is normal, because like I said, most people goes to Facebook to find a solution to a problem, and then they stay there and show the nice things they do with machines, right? So there's this implicit bias of problems reported on Facebook. Funny enough, our group is great because most people know more about engraving and 3D printing than me. I learn a lot with our users, and they are very, very, very willing to help no matter what. And that's rare. I don't see that a lot. So I'm very happy for that, because they help me a lot, honestly. Because many times when I go to help someone else already did, and most of the time successfully and very well done. So that helps me a lot. And that same people that was helped before stays in the group because the group is nice, and they help someone else. So it's a positive feedback loop that I really enjoy, and I haven't seen in Facebook many times. Is quite a good feeling that the community is healthy and is positivity.
Well, people try to help forward. So if someone goes on there and they've learned something, they're going to reiterate that back to somebody else who's come across a similar problems if they see that question posting first.
Yeah,
and that's a nice thing. So it's a daisy chain effect, you know.
And I think that's very good. And there's no. At the beginning, there was a bit strict policies on what you could and couldn't post. I reached an agreement with Ortur that besides egregious abuse or people being nasty, right? We would let people post whatever they want. Positive things, negative things, talk about other products, doesn't matter. If it's a positive and it's input and someone can learn something, sure, no problem at all. At the beginning, the Ortur didn't face things like this, and I made them think a bit about it, and the rules are a bit loose, and I think that's important.
Jerry has a question for you. Oh, sorry, wrong one. This one here. He said, did Amazon really make your business go through the roof? Because you sell a lot on Amazon right now.
I don't know. Let me explain this, because this is important. I have so many things on our plate. I don't touch sales, fulfillment. I just don't know. Okay. I know how it works. I know there's many channels: Amazon, Gearbest, AliExpress, Banggood, many channels. I don't know exactly how they work. I should know a bit more, I admit, but I don't know, because it is too much information from a little brain. Also, I think it's important for me to make a bit of a barrier. I deal with customers after, when they have a problem, or if they have questions before buying the machine. But anything related to sales or fulfillment, or basically anything that requires a money transaction is not my department. Well, I don't touch it.
You need to have segregation of duties, otherwise you'll have no time to get anything done, right?
Yeah, and basically I would do nothing. Basically, yeah.
So Jerry's asked how Jerry's at 3D printing and painting. I don't know if you know his channel. Well, he's got a lot of good followers, but and he's a really nice guy. But he says he's asking how many emails or contacts you make per day on average.
Depends. Weekends are complicated. If you join our tour customer support, forget your weekends, and it makes sense. Weekend? Right, it makes sense. People are at home, they are playing with their machines, and they have problems, and they contact. I don't know. I think on average, I'm guesstimating here 150 tickets a day.
That's
maybe 200. Yeah,
how many people? Just you?
Just me. Emails. Although I have to be honest, less and less emails now since our ticketing system is working kind of okay. That's a lot, but many issues are mostly related with many issues are related because our documentation is not great at the moment.
Yeah, but you're working with them on that, so
yeah,
that's
and
why
it should be. There's some problems, but like I said, if we could buy 72-hour days, it would be great. But I think priority is to help the customer, and everything else comes second. At times, the problem is that if I stopped everything and done documentation properly, I wouldn't have so many tickets. But I don't know how to sort that problem. It's like a chicken or the egg kind of thing, right? So, at the moment...
well, one thing you could do, and what a lot of other manufacturers are doing, and we actually have two manufacturers on, not Ortur. We actually have G-Tech, someone from G-Tech's on right now with us.
Hello.
Dayspring and Timo from MakerPie, who's actually on watching the stream as well. So they're going to learn from this too. One thing is to use your community, because a community like you, there's people in the community who want to volunteer to help make stuff better. And if by using these people to help you fix your documentation and so on, and then that can be rolled into the product release.
Yeah.
And do it before the product comes out. You can help document it.
One of the ideas I always had is because translating using Google Translate is not a thing.
No, it's not. No, you need to have a native speaker or someone who at least speaks very well to create good content, right?
My plan always was to build it, to write a manual like you know how to use a machine first, because many times what happens, I find, is that the engineers write the manuals. And
by the way, your boss just chimed in. Justin's on the line.
Hey, boss. Hi, Justin. And this is a problem because the engineers are great at engineering, not great at writing manuals. That makes sense. And I've been trying to, I assemble and disassemble a machine many times until I understand what's the best way to build it and have as little problems as possible. Is not easy.
Oh yeah.
And one important thing that I think is important from me doing support first is I start to understand where the problems come. Right? I have this. Basically, I literally have my hands on the user, and I can receive feedback from them many times. Basically, by them reporting me a problem over and over and over and over and over again, I understand it's not a one customer problem, but it's a problem. Right.
It's a trend, and that trend means that something needs to be addressed. Yeah.
Yes, exactly, and that's very helpful. And we took a lot of feedback from customers many times without they understanding it, like just by their reporting to us the problem, we understood and we addressed many things like that.
Yeah.
So it is literally a chicken or an egg kind of thing, because if you don't contact with the customer, you don't understand where the problem is. So basically, a manual is a always evolving living thing, because you always have to tinker with it. So yeah. I'm not sure yet what's the best approach, but for sure I will need the help of the community, especially in translating them.
There's people like you. There's people in the community who want to help with translating, who want to help with the verbiage to make sure that the stuff is done right. So, and that's like, I do it for some companies. You did it, and they ended up hiring you. So, so there are people out there like us who want to make things better for everyone. But so, what is your average day like? You get up in the morning, you say, oh no, here we go again.
Yeah. Fridays are funny because I already know that by Saturday morning it would be a bit of a mess. I don't mean this in the bad way, because it's not. It's just what it is, right? Mm-hmm. But basically, I get up, get my coffee, because coffee is important. I have a multi-screen setup. I should have took a picture, but forgot. So yeah, I have a lot of screen real estate.
I have three in front of me right now.
Yeah, I have three 27s and a 4K TV on top. and then I have a computer to my side as well. So yeah, I start spreading pages and Excel sheets and email accounts everywhere. But basically, the first thing I do is go check Facebook. I know if something is wrong, if Facebook has 47 notification for some reason, or my name is, I don't know how you call it, tagged or mentioned. Mentioned, right.
Yeah.
I didn't have yet a crisis day, like a day where, oh, no, small little problems happen. Now we have the problem of the latest firmware that I think I hope I prepared well enough to avoid big problems. But these moments are critical because you have you ask the customer to do something. So if something goes wrong, you need to help them right now, right? But yeah, basically check Facebook, see if there's any problem, any drama. Is rare, but happens at times. People overnight tend to fight for some reason. Then I start checking emails, basically see if there's anything top priority. And basically I just go through the tickets. Normally from the latest to the newest, so it's organized from newest to lowest, right? So if I start to the newest, the last people that sent a ticket will get the first answer. No, I need to go the other way around. And basically most of the day I'm doing that.
Okay. So Jerry asked a question, and Jerry, I'm going to come back to that question in a while because I was planning to ask that question anyway. So I'll hold on that question. I'll give you an answer in a while. So I work support. You work support. We've all done our share. We've all been support to our neighbors. Like if you're in IT, you're automatically the neighbors go to IT support person, right?
Yeah. So especially if you understand about computers, everyone asks you something about computer, right?
So given that, we all have our funny stories, and I kind of led into one earlier on about one of the funny stories. Let me start with one of the funny stories that I had when I was doing IT support for a big computer company. Now, this was a big computer company. I'm not going to give a name, but a big computer company, and I was called up to the CFO's office, and his computer was having a problem. It was making noise, grinding sound. So I asked him what happened, and he said, "It just started doing that." And I said, "No, I'm not believing it," because I knew these guys because I was support, right? So I knew them very well. And he said, "No, really." And I said, I don't believe you. What did you do? He said, "Nothing." I kept repeating myself. And I said, "Look, if you don't tell me what you did, I can't fix it." And he had one of these nice swivel chairs. It was a mini tower on the floor beside his desk. He was spinning around in his chair and he kicked it over.
Yeah, that happens. There's nothing, right?
So you have stories like that, weird stuff that you've come across. Specifically because you're only doing support now with Ortur, right? So have you come across some really funny stories of weird stuff that happened?
Well, I have crazy, strange stuff, and I have the funny stuff that everyone, especially if you go to Facebook, everyone laughs at it. And the funny ones is when someone writes in panic on Facebook, "My machine doesn't work," right?
Yeah.
The motherboard lights up, my machine doesn't move. And everyone already knows the answer, which is basically the person turned off the power strip last night and next morning forgot to turn it on, and the motherboard gets power from the USB port and the steppers don't move because they don't have power.
Current, yeah.
If I had $1 for every time I answered that question, but Facebook is great because basically by the time I get to those posts, they are already fixed. So that's a very, 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 very common problem.
Happens with 3D printers all the time because they take the 5 volts from over USB to power the board. Yeah,
exactly, same problem. I have to admit, I do the same at times. I do. When I
cut that. That never.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I do that at times. But now I know why. Strange problems. I love very complicated very mysterious problems. I think they are what's fun for me, because fixing the normal day-to-day stuff, I like the challenge of finding something very weird with a machine that's working funny for no reason whatsoever.
Yeah,
I had a very, very nice customer, Ortur user of laser machine. Loves the machine, was great every single day until late in the evening. And we went for weeks going back and forth, and decided the problem disappeared, the problem appeared again, problem disappeared, the problem appeared again. We couldn't figure out what's going on. Basically, one day we realized what's going on. The only thing that was constant was the time of the problems. And we went through the emails and verified each time he wrote saying he had a problem was after dinner time. So basically, I asked the customer, so what's special about this time of day that you have always problems with your machine? And basically, this is important to say as well, the customer lived in an area that the electricity was horrible, was not great. So basically, what we figured out in the end was every evening, the wife of the customer came home, turned the electric oven, and the voltage drop was so great that the machine, if it was engraving, would crash. And basically, it was nothing. It was no problem. The problem was the wife. Basically, don't cook. If you engrave, don't cook. Yeah, that was one of the most strange, and that took the longest to figure out. And it was no problem at all. It was basically the
it was a timing problem. You have a
timing.
choice. You either engrave or you eat.
Yeah, basically. I have many other strange situations, like microwaves interfering with the motherboards and strange things like that. But that one was interesting because it took weeks and weeks to figure out. Then in the end, we had a laugh about it. But I like those problems that are challenging. I think those are the most, the ones you remember, right? Because most of the times it's just normal day-to-day stuff.
Like the one I mentioned about someone saying their computer wouldn't power up because they had a power outage.
Yeah, exactly. yeah, you remember those, and it's funny because I think those are the ones that always teach you something. And basically, what I've been asking now, people that have similar problems is, what time of day this happens? Does it happen every day, or is random, or do you think it's at night or during the day? I asked the question, and before that, I would never consider it. And maybe you learn something from these strange problems.
Yeah, but it's the unusual ones that we not only do we remember them, but we learn from them because it's something we haven't experienced before. Like you said, microwave. When someone turns on the microwave, like a laser or a printer will shut down.
Yeah, the controller goes bonkers. I test that. I have a microwave at home that does that to my machine, but it has to be quite close. But puts in the problem of electric interference in these controls. They are sensitive machines that if something very electrical noisy comes near them, they can have problems. And like we said, many things we understand, most people don't consider a problem because they don't face it. I honestly, here where I work, I am very insulated from the electric noise. I have a big studio. Basically, I have the lights, mostly nothing else, and Ortur machines. But I am sure if I move my machines to, I don't know, the garage or something like that, I could face similar problems. And it's important to know them. They exist, right?
Yeah. So it sounds like you do many things. You wear many different hats.
Yeah.
And from what you do. And that's normal for support to have a mixture of helping customers, helping with documentation, helping with anything that comes your way, right? Because it's a mixed bag for you. So what's your favorite part of what you do?
I like mostly...
Remember, your boss is listening.
The boss is listening. Yes, I love everything about it. No, I like to find... I am always like this. I always get extremely involved with silly problems. I like to go deep to the root cause of everything. So engineers don't like that on me. I'm sure they never say it, but I'm sure they don't like that. But I like to understand why something happens. So many times I end up having to learn some things that shouldn't be on my to-do list, basically, like understand how firmwares work, what a bootloader is, how the drivers on some machines, like HP machines, like computers, HP machines don't like unsigned drivers, things like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yes, I have to deal with, I wouldn't say I have to, I like to deal in many things at once. And
you like to get into the nitty-gritty detail.
Yeah.
You're not a kind of a high-level overview person. You're more of a...
Yeah, and then some other things, like I like to if I had my way, and that's not always possible, I think everything should be done for a reason. The UI in the menu in the machine to the way the machine is laid out. And I try to understand and discuss this with Ortur engineers to try to make the machines as user-friendly as possible. It's not always possible, of course, but this means that you have to discuss with the hardware engineer, the software engineer, understand the limitations and the price point of the hardware, because it's important, right? And understand within this budget of hardware power what can be done. And that's quite interesting, because you end up understanding a bit more about many things at once. So yeah, I get very involved in many things that probably I shouldn't, but I think it's important because, like I said, one of the main jobs I have is to bridge the manufacturing and the development and the customer, the user.
Yeah.
And at times to understand this bridge and why things happen the way they happen, be it problems, many times I see people using the machines on Facebook in ways I had never imagined, right?
Yeah.
So basically, I have to bridge the ideas between the two realms, the user and the engineers, and that's interesting and makes you deal with many things at once.
So there's one question there that's actually a support question.
Sure.
And it is, what is the reason why the update for the lasers, the latest firmware update, is Windows only?
Okay, this one I know how to answer. Basically, the problem is the way the file systems on Mac OS, mostly Mac OS and Linux, works. I didn't know this. I went and bought a Mac to understand why. If you unhide a folder, if you unhide the hidden folders inside the hidden files and folders inside the folder on Mac OS, you will understand that the indexing system of Mac writes a lot of files that are not visible.
Yeah.
If you plug a FAT32 USB or whatever it is to a Mac, it will write those files as well. So what happens is the bootloaders in the or through motherboards was not ignoring these files. Okay, so it means if you plug the machine to a Mac OS and go in firmware mode, the Mac OS system would see the drive and immediately write indexing files to it, hidden files.
Yes.
And these would not always, I could not replicate exactly what made it happen, but in many circumstances, the board would go nuts, basically.
It would brick the board because it was
basically. We tried to find some works around. They became too complex, too easy, too fast. So we decided from the new revision of boards, there will be a new bootloader. There will be an identifier on the board itself that will say that the new board is Mac and Linux and Windows compatible. So when these new boards come to market, it will be the same board. Basically, we'll have an identifier saying that the bootloader is the newest, okay? And basically, the instruction will say, does your board have this X on the, I don't know exactly what it will be, but it will be a visual identifier If the board has the identifier, then you can run the same steps on Windows, Mac, and Linux. If it does not, only use Windows.
Yeah,
right.
Like the identifier you have for the 1.3 and the other laser, where the buttons are in one position and the other, and so on.
Yeah, the only difference is we will make it visible without having to disassemble the machine. So it will be a red dot, something simple, but that you can visually see in the board that let you know if it is newer or older. And funny enough, this was a complex problem to solve. How can we create a new firmware and a new bootloader and make them cross-compatible and make it so the customers with older boards can use same? It's a complex problem because you always have to think of to be back compatible with the older hardware. So basically, we decided that the best way to not create more confusion was Windows only. And I think, and I think mostly most people that read Windows only don't have problems. And yes, it is possible to use virtual machine on Mac. Does not always work. So we advise borrow if needed a laptop for 5 minutes to do it. Obviously is not the best solution. In an ideal world, this shouldn't be a problem, but it is. And between breaking the boards and using Windows only, I think the choice of choosing Windows only for now is the best.
Yep, that's a good answer. I knew that because I understand Mac and Windows OSs and so on, and Linux OSs very well. IT is my background, so
right.
I understand the reason why. So again, you remember your boss is on the call, but be honest. What is it like working for Ortur?
Sorry?
What is Ortur? What is it like working for Ortur, the company?
It's great. I have to say, obviously there's a difference in culture.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, right?
Yeah.
It's like working for an American company being European. Like, I remember the first time I spoke with the team, my first question was like, okay, so you guys work on weekends? And they laughed at me, right? What kind of question is that? Of course we work on weekends, right? For an European, that's not a question to ask, because of course you do not work on weekends, right?
Yeah, but they work, but it's average that 6 days a week is common in China.
Yeah, it is. It is. They are very good people, very young team. They work a lot, right? And considering that there is a language barrier, which is obvious, and we use translators a lot. We can, at times, with some difficulties, with some drawings and some pictures and some drawings on pictures, we can work very well. I think. I hope, boss. I hope.
Confidence here, Justin.
I think a fault I have is I am very pushy.
But as I said, I've come from that. I had some support background, and I'm a product manager right now with a software company, and I'm about as pushy as they come because I need to be, because I'm dealing with engineers from all over the world, and I'm dealing with internal people who have their own agendas and their own ideas of how things should be done, and my point of view is always what it looks like for the customer. And that's the way I look at everything.
The problem is, I am in a position in which I feel entitled to be pushy, and let me explain why. The engineers are working on the machines, obviously. The sales teams is working with the sales. I am dealing with the customer every day, right? So if the customer moans at me that something is wrong, I feel entitled to moan at the engineer that they need to fix it. You see, right?
That's support's job, right? Oh, by the way, Jerry says if you give a good interview, you'll get donuts tomorrow from Justin.
Oh, great. So I of course, it's not a question of entitlement. I am just joking about it. But
I know. Yeah.
I have to face the customer, so I feel that I can relate to to the engineer team the frustrations that the customers may or may not have, right?
And that's fair.
And if I feel that some change is within grasp and within possibilities, I will not give up until it's done. And there I am very pushy, because if you tell me, okay, this is not possible, it's not possible. Okay, I accept that. But if something is possible and is not done because reasons, I don't accept that, and I push. And I think I was hired to push, so I push.
And you're the advocate for the customer, right? Your job is to advocate the customer's position and to help.
Yeah, and I see it this way. Our premise that the customer is always right is a cliche.
Even when they're wrong, they're still
even
right.
if like, I don't think the customer can be blamed if the problem is if the product has a design flaw, or it's our responsibility to understand the problem, address the problem, fix it if possible, and make a better product. So, right. And my job is exactly bridging this information, the flow of information. And if you work with engineers, and I work with engineers prior to Ortur as well, engineers, they suffer from what I call the maker syndrome. They know how it works because they made it. So there's no magic in it. They know how it works. So they don't understand that someone else cannot understand it, right? I call it maker syndrome. I don't know if it makes sense or not, but it's like a coder writing code. It may not make any comments on the code. He knows exactly what he does. If you give the same code to someone else, they cannot understand it, right?
Yeah.
So I try to make this bridge between the customer, the average customer, because we have customers and we have users of Ortur machines that are brighter than me and all the engineers combined. They're very intelligent people working with Ortur machines that could teach us a lot. But I mean, the average person, because the thing is, these people that understand the product better than me don't need support. They usually, what they do is take the machine and make it better, right?
Yeah,
so,
that's what we do as makers, right? We improve the product to do what we want it to do above and beyond what its normal capabilities are.
Yeah, exactly. The tinkerers in the world take a machine, look at it, see the potential, and make it better, right?
Yeah.
But I need to defend it, the average user that just wants to use the machine as it was intended, without modifications, basically, right?
Yeah.
And that's my job, basically, help them and make the bridge between the engineer team, the design team, and the user team.
And it sounds like from this, I was going to ask about how they are about taking that input, but it sounds like because you advocate for that and you work with them on that, with the engineers and so on in the management team.
Yeah,
that does happen on an ongoing basis.
It does. And we created also a user feedback page where people can put their input and give their ideas. And many revisions of the product, minor revisions, were made based on user feedback,
which is good because that's what the user needs.
And like I said, at times I look at Facebook and people do things with these machines that I couldn't imagine. So it's important to take the collective, the collective creativity and knowledge and condense it and create something better. Like I said, at times it's not possible because there's budget constraints and manufacturing constraints, and of course the machine has to have a price that's reasonable. But everything within reason that we can do to improve the products should be done, and I see no reason why not.
Yeah, and Techie Dad has proposed a suggestion to have a page or support site that lists the updates, both software, firmware, and hardware.
We have
that's already existing, isn't it? I believe.
Yeah, it is. It is. I can update it on the
post on the
comments.
Facebook. Yeah, on the comments if you want to.
But on our Facebook group, there's the announcements, and basically there's three that are important. The firmware, there's a repository that I created to every single product from Ortur. It's in progress, but it's there. There's a support page. That's our ticketing system. The feedback page as well. And we are working as well on an official store that will have all this information condensed as well. Work in progress on that side.
So, you were a maker.
Yeah. Oops. Okay, no problem. Maybe I can see other questions while Liam is coming back. I will hijack the stream. But yes, we have a support page, which basically, I don't know if I can write it here. I don't think I can. No, I cannot. But I will update it on the comments below. I will try to put those links. If I have lasers at home, I have 7. Yes, I am based in Portugal. And it's basically 2 a.m. for me now. But that's not normally a problem because I'm normally up to 3 a.m. And the reason being is basically, let me see what time it is now in China. So they are 8 hours ahead of me. So it's 10 a.m. there. So if there's anything to discuss, if I go to bed, I don't know, let's say 11 o'clock p.m. Is 8 a.m. for them, basically we will not see each other until the next day. So many times I stay up a bit later, also because it helps me go into the USA time, but also because it allows us to have an overlap of time in which they are online, I am online, and we can discuss things, basically. So yeah, let me see. So the question is, if I have lasers at home? Yes, I have all machines from Ortur, from the little one to the big one, and the prototypes of the new ones that will come soon. And I have the 3D printers as well. I should have made a picture. Let me see if I have anything here I could share. Something that's not very, very bad. I don't. I don't think I have. Some days back, some weeks back, when we've been testing our firmware. This is not a great picture, okay? So don't be mad. But let me see if I can share it. If I go to, give me a moment. I go to So this is not a very pretty setup, but this is me testing all firmware, the latest one, on all the machines. And there's 4 there. There's 3 more behind me. Yeah, it's nice because it's in the countryside, and I can lift up the blinds, and I have almost 180-degree view. It's not very good in the summer because it gets to 40 degrees Celsius, toasty. But yeah, it's not very pretty, I'm sure, sorry. But yes, I have every machine, and I have a few prototypes as well. And most of the times I have a camera up here on the right side, and I can be in the office and see the machines working. And many times they are basically being stress tested. On the latest firmware, we spent at least 36 hours, continuous hours, on 7 machines, all working to the max to see if there was any problem. We went through a few iterations of the firmware until we knew it was ready. So yeah, it can't be pretty, because every time you need to test something, you make a mess. You have to remove the motherboard, you need to test a new stepper, you need to, it gets very, very, very messy. Let me see. More questions? Yes, I'm from Portugal. Yeah, Facebook. Facebook is nice. I love to go to Facebook just to. Oh, Liam.
Sorry, internet. I have weird internet problems happening at home recently. I'm very sorry about that.
No problem. I keep people entertained, showing them my setup.
Oh, good, because I was actually going to get onto that. So you've already done it for me.
Yeah. No problem. I was showing them what I was doing with all my machines, testing the latest firmware and my setup and all that.
Let me do this to put you full screen.
Yeah, I was earlier, so I already showed them that. No problem. So yeah.
Okay.
Now we're back. You are. Where
so let's go back to where we were. I'm sorry. So
okay, no
let's
problem.
talk about. So we're talking about your own printers at home. What do you have? Like, since you're working from home, I'm assuming you have a lot of Ortur machines at home.
Yeah, I have. And if I was still at the city, I couldn't, in no way, shape, or form, have as many machines. I have around me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 machines. 3 of them are prototypes. Then there are 7 of all the lasers. From the little one to the top one, there's a prototype as well. Then I have the Ortur 1, Ortur 2 3D printers, and the Obsidian one, which is the latest. And I have the original printer, the Delta printer from Ortur factory, not Ortur themselves as well. So yeah, I have a few toys to play with.
Well, that's nice. What is your favorite machine? Now, I know, overall, of all the printers, and I know it's a catchy situation because you work for Ortur, but I ask everybody this question, and it doesn't have to be an Ortur machine. If you have a reason for being outside of Ortur, that's fine.
It's
like
not.
Ortur specialists do stuff that others don't do.
This is funny because I bought my first 3D printer thinking I would use it every day, and I think, like most people, you realize you don't actually, right? You use it a lot, but not as much as
I on the go every day.
I cannot. Maybe because I'm not creative enough to print enough to do that. That's me. I love the new Obsidian 3D printer. I think I have a picture somewhere. I will put some products going on the slideshow if that's okay. But let me see if I can do that. If I don't die. Okay. It's doing something. So the new Obsidian 3D printer is very good. It's very quiet. I love that. But I have to say my favorite is the Ortur Laser Master 2. I do a lot of things with that. And I think I something happened to me. What did? I don't know if my software broke, I think. Oh, there it is. See if I can put it. So yes, the LaserMaster 2 is one of the machines that works every day for sure. And I'm trying to put new OBS just went. Sorry. So I will put myself back.
You can share screen if you want to on StreamYard. In the bottom, you have the share screen option, and you can share your screen. That'll bypass OBS, and you can share direct.
Oh, I have a dual monitor. I don't know if I can, but
You can
I will try.
Monitor. You can choose the monitor.
I will try while we speak. Yeah, basically, my favorite is the Ortur LaserMaster 2. It will be, for sure, the Ortur LaserMaster 400 with motorized Z when it comes out. That
motorized
will
Z is great to adjust the Z height for your laser focus.
Exactly. Yeah, addressables, so you can control it with G-code. That's there will be. I'm sure Justin won't mind if I say that, because it's not a secret. There will be Ortur LaserMaster 2 Pro, which has manual Z access, so you can adjust it manually, and the M400, which will have the Z addressable. So that's a big change, because then you can play with some cut depth on passes and all that. That might be that will make the machine more interesting for more people with more. It's not just an engraver, okay?
Well, with the way a laser works is the beam comes out, hits a lens, the lens focuses that down to a point, but after that point it widens out again, right? Because it's it comes through like this. So if you could do one pass, drop Z, the height of the depth of your cut, do another pass, so it's always hitting the focus point as it cuts down through the material.
To some limitation is not.
Of course, yeah, but I'm just saying
right.
That's the good. That having the adjustable Z, you could do pass 1, Z down, pass 2, Z drop, pass 3, Z drop, and then you could actually.
And not only that, especially on engraving, and this is something I learned from CO2 machines mostly, but also applies to diode lasers. Is being focused at times is not the best, depending on what engraving you are doing. If you are doing tiles or something like that, you need to be spot on. But on wood especially, if you could, on the same job, change the focus just a little, you can get very interesting designs. Obviously, if you can do this programmatically, you can repeat it many times, right?
And it depends on whether you're doing vector or raster engraving. Like if you're doing raster engraving, a wider beam is okay because you're filling in an area. When you're doing an outline, you need a vector engraving, so your focus needs to be spot on.
Yeah, and many things are very parallel between CO2 lasers and diode lasers. Other things are completely different, obviously, power, of course. But I follow a channel from Russ, an English gentleman that is a retired engineer, funny enough, and he went from zero to being a complete expert on YouTube about CO2 machines. Mm-hmm. And I watch most of his videos, and they are very long and very deep and it's not easy to follow, but you learn a lot, not only about CO2 lasers, but how the lasers themselves work, what you can expect, what you cannot expect of a machine. And I digress. We were talking about what machines. Lasers for now. I'm hooked on lasers.
I have a CO2 laser myself, and I use a fair bit of K40, and it's I've gotten well into it to use it more and more. What was the last thing you ever printed on a 3D printer, and what was it for?
Practical things. I print for my mother 2 handles for the fridge, funny enough, and absolutely ordinary things that are not interesting at all, but very useful. Yeah. And I've been printing a lot of prototyping for some ideas I've been having. I cannot share. But yeah, I've been using it mostly for product prototyping. It's easy. That's the main use I give to the machines, because you can think something, create it roughly, and see if it works or not. Many of our users use the machines to upgrade themselves. I'm not that good at CAD software, sadly, or I don't
That's
have
why
a
you have
patient.
Tinkercad, right? You Tinkercad. If you're not good at CAD, use Tinkercad, because basically you're adding and taking away shapes, and then you'll get to where you need to be.
Yeah,
Not as
but
precise, but at least you get you in the right
as
spot.
thinkers, we don't start with Tinkercad. You want to learn my 3D or Fusion 360 or something like that. You never start with this simple thing, right? I knew the basics, very, very basics. I just don't have time to explore everything. That's a fault I have, because I get very excited about something. I will spend a week on it, and then I move to something else. I don't know why. That's what I am.
It's
So
short
yeah,
attention span. Like most of us in the maker world, we have a short attention span. We spend so much time on something, and then we disappear because, there's something more interesting. There's something more shiny over here.
more
Let's
shiny.
do
Yeah,
that.
yeah, the new shiny thing.
Yeah.
But prototyping is something that I use the machines a lot for, the 3D printers, and I use them both. The Obsidian is best at this time of day, like 1 a.m., because it's very quiet, and
Okay.
I can leave it running. The older machines are very good as well, a bit noisy, so I use them mostly on the day. But yes, I use them. The lasers are running most of the day, because many times also I ask customers that have a problematic G code that is giving them problems, and I ask the G code and try to replicate the problem, basically to understand if it's code-based or if there's a problem in the machines, right? And many times what I see is accelerations and speeds are a bit over-optimistic. That's a problem. But yeah, the laser machines are working every day.
So there's a technical question here, well,
Sure.
more of a safety question. Talk about the safety of the laser and what Ortur does to ensure user safety.
Well, basically, one of the things that Ortur Firmware has that's a bit different, but I think everyone else caught up already, is we have three safety features. One of them is the firmware detects if the head of the laser is in motion. If the laser is not in motion, the physical head is not in motion, and the laser is at above 20% power for more than 30 seconds, it will turn off automatically. Basically, this means, suppose a stepper breaks or something prevents the head from moving, and the laser is shining at 100%. If the laser, yeah, it will detect that and disable the laser. Basically, gives you an error, maximum exposure time, which is the same coordinate was being exposed for more than X seconds, so it disables itself. Then it has what we call G-shock. It's not G-shock, it's an accelerometer reading. If the machine is bumped for any reason, the laser will shut off. And we have the loss connection protection. So if your computer goes off, if the power USB plug is pulled off, the machine disconnects automatically. It's a non-recoverable situation. So if this happens mid-burn, that's it. You have to restart, right? Yeah. So they are safety features. And the latest firmware also brought in the pause and resume function, which in the previous firmware wasn't working properly. I think people are misjudging the capabilities of this function. You cannot turn off your computer, your machine, and go to sleep, and next morning resume. It's not that. You can temporarily freeze the G-code stream, and if you want to resume it next day, you need to leave the machine and the computer on, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's working now. We also added, and this is not very much of a safety feature, it's more enhancement. Basically, at the end of engraving, the laser fan will stay on a bit to help cooling. But yeah, the three main safety, if no motion is detected, the laser turns off. If the motion is detected as a bump, the laser turns off. And if it loses connection with the host via USB, the laser shuts off as well.
So there's another question there. Jerry's asking, a lot of people think that the safety glasses applied with the lasers are not good enough. That's what he means by not up to snuff. So what's your opinion?
They are. Ortur supplies the laser with three colors, green, yellow, and red. Mostly green and yellow. Most people think the color is related to the protection. Is not. The coating is on the lens is what gives the protection, okay? So there's a coating that blocks 44.5 nanometers light, okay? We have people asking on our Facebook if you can use welders' helmets or, well, you can. You shouldn't. You can. The lasers are good enough. Are they comfortable? No, they are not. Is there something better? Yes, there is. Me personally, would I suggest you go and buy something better? Yes, I would. Okay? They are good enough. But yes, I would suggest you go and buy a $40 better pair, because for me especially, and I can go find mine if you want, is a matter of comfort, especially as I wear glasses. The Ortur glasses are not very comfortable over, right?
Yeah,
but yes, they are good enough.
We need to have them standing out so they have room for the glasses to go underneath them. Because
furthermore, I would say that what I've been seeing people do, and this is funny, because if you buy two good glasses, you end up taking them off to focus your laser. Because the premium glasses I have, they are great. I cannot see the laser at all. But I cannot see the laser at all. So when I have to focus, if I have those glasses on, I have to lift them to see the laser, you see? So most of the times I use the Ortur's ones with other problem. If I have to use them for a lot of time, then I use the others because they are comfortable. Yes, they are good enough.
It's a better fit.
Yeah.
Okay. So
green, yellow, and red, they are all good. And I will soon, because I've been doing some recording about it, do a side-by-side comparison of the three colors plus the premium ones to make a comparison.
Yeah. Okay. And a lot of people don't understand about the lasers. The 4 or 5 nanometer is the laser beam, and most of the time the laser beam is not being reflected around. It's what's burning is being reflected off, and that gives off different wavelengths of light. So, and the glass,
the refraction of the light.
Well.
Yeah. But I say this.
I'm a science nerd, so I understand the physics of how it works.
Yeah, and like I said, you can replace a laser, you can replace goggles, you cannot replace your eyes. So be careful, right?
I agree. Okay. I agree. Safety is always first.
And if you can buy something better, sure. Especially because if you have more people in the household as well, you should have glasses for everyone. Because the problem with the laser machines is very, you like to see it work. You stare at it, right? So
and that's not good for you unless you have protection. Yeah.
So basically, what I do is I set my machine working. I go to the office and I have the webcam recording the machine and I see it, right? So, but it's very mesmerizing was the word I was looking for. So yes, you stare at it a lot. So yeah, if you can afford it, and I hope you can, buy something better. Sure.
And glasses enough for comfort, because
exactly. Yeah. Especially if you're gonna work it many hours a day, go buy something better. Are they safe? Yes, they are.
Yeah, and with regards to your K40, Jerry, it's not the laser beam itself in the K40 that's the problem. The problem is that as it burns, the light emitted during the ultraviolet light created during the burning process, especially in the higher power lasers. Like the CO2 lasers, they emit a lot of ultraviolet light, which is really bad for your eyes and good. protect your eyes
But
from that.
the wavelength on the CO2 is completely different. You can use normal glasses and be mostly protected.
Yeah, the acrylic, any layer of acrylic will help you.
Yeah.
But it's the UV light that can go through the acrylic. You need to have the coating ones.
Yeah, I think in these things, like I said, you have 2 eyes, no refunds, no replacements.
Yes.
Protect them, right?
I agreed. So, do you have anything else you want to add before we finish up? Because
we've been talking a lot, haven't we?
Yeah. Get to know you. It's all
Can you put these on
full screen?
Yeah, please.
I hit the wrong button. There you go.
Right. So I spoke with Justin, and he sent me a few pictures of Ortur itself. I think it's important to understand, to show people what Ortur is. The people that work there, the size of the company is not a little company anymore, which is good. And basically, I think the message is Ortur is since 2018, so 4 or 5 years now, is a fast-growing young company that is listening a lot and is trying to improve in a market that's very, very dense and very competitive, and it's complex. So Ortur is trying to do the best, I think, best within the price range and within the possibilities of what can be done. So I think people should give their positive and negative feedback. I want them both. I think the negative usually is more if it's
constructive.
Negative feedback, I think is good.
Yes.
You can take it and do something with it and improve on it. If it's destructive criticism, I don't need it. I know exactly.
It doesn't help you if someone says this is trash, this is no good. That doesn't help. If you say this doesn't work because A, B, C, and D, now you have something to address.
Not only that, I think obviously being Ortur a Chinese company, there's a huge stigma on it, and I understand it. I think Ortur is trying to break apart from that. Obviously, there's a huge road ahead regarding quality control, regarding customer support, because it's a team of 1.5 at the moment. So yes, there's a big road ahead, but I believe the team has a honest will to do better. Right, and basically, let me put it this way: if I hadn't seen this, I wouldn't be here tonight. Right?
Yeah,
so that's important.
And I also think, like, you must remember as well, a lot of us are makers, and we deal with 3D printers and laser engravers and CNC machines. So we're used to. I don't believe the vast majority of us makers. Let's bring you back up. I don't believe the vast majority of us makers here see that stigma, because most of the machines that we deal with on a daily basis are out of Chinese companies. 3D printers are out
yes. I didn't mean it in that way.
I'm just saying, as makers, that really doesn't exist that much.
And let's be honest here as well. We owe China a lot, because it made all these toys we play with very affordable, and that's good. Obviously, it came with a bit of quality issues, of course, right? Of course. And basically, the goal I have with Ortur, and this is a shared goal, is we want to fix the problems as much as possible to make me unemployed, so that I have no support tickets to answer, right?
That's the goal. Job, isn't it? You're working to fix the problem so you don't have work to do anymore.
Yeah, exactly. That's the goal. The goal is to fix every single problem, make the problem so reliable that I personally have nothing to do all day. And if I can do that, great. Obviously, in a real world, things doesn't work that way. And it's an iterative process. You fix 1% today, 1% tomorrow, 1% next day, and by the end of the month, you improved 10%, and you spread that around the year, and you improve the product 50% if you're lucky, 60% if you're very lucky. So iterations, and I think people needs to understand and accept that most things cannot be solved overnight.
And as a maker, if something was created and I bought a product and it worked perfectly every single time,
like
what am I going to do to it?
Like a washer machine. Right.
Like your washing machine, you just put stuff in and you hit a button and then you walk away, right? Like if all my 3D printers and stuff that I have, my CO2 laser and everything here was like that, 50% of my time would be doing nothing because I like to tinker. And I wouldn't be able to tinker because it'd be a perfect machine.
Not everyone have that age. Although I think everyone that goes into any type of these products with the minimal knowledge, minimum research knows and should expect. And I say this a lot about laser engraving. The science part is 10%. The artistic part is 90%, right?
Yeah.
You can be great and understand every single aspect of the machine and do not very creative stuff, like me, for example, right?
Oh yeah, I can't draw a straight line. I'm really bad.
Right. and you can be a complete, you can know nothing about a machine and create the most amazing art. Like I said, if you go to our Facebook and just scroll through the pictures, it's amazing what people can do with this machine, and I don't know how they do it, right? So the idea is to keep improving. Our major goal is obviously improve quality control because it is a problem. It is a problem with any manufacturing. It is a problem with this type of manufacturing as well. We are not horrible. I have access to the data. I have my own data. I'm collecting my own data through customer support, and it's not horrible, but it could be better. That's the goal. It should be better.
Don't they say that you never have everything perfect, because if it does, you have nothing to strive for. So you always have to have a point to strive for. So improvement is always a possibility.
The problem is there's things that are completely out of control. Like, I don't know, I had a customer yesterday, and it was, some customers take the short straw every time. He waited 1 month for the machine, and the machine arrived and the box was completely damaged. So
that's a shipping problem, yeah.
That's
not out of your hands, right? Because you put that into the hands of a company and trust them to make the delivery.
Yeah, but I feel bad. I feel very bad about that.
Oh, yeah.
And I cannot, how to say, I cannot ignore the problem, because I feel the frustrations people go through. I feel them, I listen to them, and that's completely out of my control, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I do some shipping of replacement parts from Portugal. In 1 in 20 takes 3 weeks to arrive. It should have take 3 days. I don't know why, completely out of my control, but we try our best. Like, one example is exactly that. I asked Ortur to ship some parts to Europe. I have a small stock, nothing major. Mostly the situations that are more urgent and within Europe. And if I can, I ship them from here, because you save a week and a half, 2 weeks on shipping, right? So those small steps is what we are trying to do to improve the customer support. And the next steps will be obviously better documentation. And I'm trying very hard to try to make some live streams as well. Would be fun. I don't know if I will have time, but we will see.
Time is always the enemy. So there's one last question there from Jerry.
Sure.
We'll wrap up after this one question, because we've already gone over time, and half it was my fault because my internet went down. So, do you build and pre-test every machine and disassemble and ship, or is it just electronics that are tested?
I'm not sure,
Okay.
honestly. From the part of the factory itself, I think you are asking if every machine is assembled, disassembled, tested, and put in a box and shipped. I don't know. I think that's impossible to do, honestly, because you have an assembly line. If you think on it, and there's a box, and each person puts a bit of the machine in the box. I don't know if you are asking if each machine is individually tested. I don't think that's possible.
Yeah.
to do.
Yeah. So how about we'll put a pin on that.
I will ask.
If you get an answer, you can post it in the comments on YouTube on the YouTube channel, under the video, maybe tomorrow, or whenever you get an answer. So he he said your boss is in chat. He can answer. Let's not let's ask the question to the back end guys, and let's get an answer.
I think it's bad because honestly, I don't know. There's parts of Ortur function, like the nitty gritty of the manufacturing itself. I don't know, and honestly, it would go over my head completely because there's so much logistics, and I don't know. I just don't know. But I can find out and answer. No problem at all.
Okay, so you got to promise to get an answer for you, Jerry.
Sure.
So if you let me just drop out of here in a moment, okay? And I'll just wait for me. So first of all, Gil, thank you. This has been great. We've learned a lot about the workings of Ortur and what it's like to work for them, and about you yourself. I think that was really good. And thank you for Justin for coming in and monitoring the conversation and the interview. This guy deserves to sleep in the morning. Oh, sorry, this guy deserves to sleep in the morning because he's
2:30. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, so it's kind of late for him. So, but thank you again. So if you hold on a moment, I'll be with you in 1 second.
Okay. Bye, everyone.
Oh, wrong one. Let me go back here. I need to switch these around and then bring me back. There you go. So thank you all. I hope you found it interesting. I hope you found it informative. Remember, like, subscribe, hit those thumbs up, ding that bell so you get notified about when there's future streams. I do have some streams coming up on Saturday morning at 11 a.m. I'll be doing a live unboxing and setup of the JG Maker Artist D, the IDEX printer from JG Maker. It arrived today. I also, next Wednesday, every Wednesday, I hold a 7 p.m. to whatever time hangout. So anyone can come, join, chat about any topic. It's an open conversation. And on Thursday next week, on the 21st at 8 p.m., I will have Bill Steely from 3D Chameleon. We're actually doing a conversation with Bill. And also for the next couple of weeks, I have many other interesting interviews and chats like this already lined up. So please like, subscribe, hit that bell, and so you get notified when I do go live. And remember, if you want to support the channel, you have the option to support the channel via PayPal if you wish to. But PayPal is linked there. The link is there. You can it helps pay for StreamYard. Or if not, you can just do a one-time donation and just buy me a coffee. And that everything helps to keep the stream alive and to keep StreamYard running. So thank you all, and I hope you have a good day, a good evening, sorry. And please stay safe, stay healthy, and stay printing. Have a good evening.